So whether you are looking for a job right now or whether you're not, having an updated CV is always a good thing to do. Thank you, Ho Yi Man. Planning to find a job next year. Next year is probably a good time to do that. Right now is a bit tough, although there are still people who are getting jobs, right? So in any market, it's still possible to find a job. They are out there, and a lot of my clients are finding job after we work on their resumes and so forth. So this session, for those of you who were in the last session, this session also is originally a 3-hour program that we've condensed into this 45 minutes. We'll get through the content as much as we can, and then we'll leave a little bit of time for questions just like we did now. All right, so I'm very goal focused. How do you write a resume that will get you an interview? Okay. And so over the years, if any of you have read my bio or gone on my LinkedIn, my claim to fame is because I used to work at Goldman, and through the 10 years that I was Goldman, even though I was in doing different roles, not always in HR, I was always involved in recruiting. And over the years, I've read at least 15,000 resumes. I've interviewed way over 1,000 people. And a lot of what I found is a lot of people are not very strategic in how they write their resume and how they present the information on there. Right? And so we always need to have a goal. Right? And so with that, thinking about what's the difference between a resume versus an interview. So if we think about it for yourself and your strategy, when you write the resume, what's your goal? When you're going for an interview, what's your goal? Anyone in the chat room? What's the goal of the resume and what's the goal of the interview? It's not that difficult of a question. Anyone? The goal of the resume versus the goal of the interview? To impress the company and get an interview. Exactly, Sharon. So I know this seems like we don't need to waste time on this because it's very obvious, but actually this is very key understanding that a lot of people miss. The goal of the resume is to get the interview. The goal of the interview is to get the job offer. Now, the reason why this is so important is a lot of people that I've coached over the years, their resume is too packed, too crowded. They write everything on paper, hoping that this will catch the attention of the person reading the resume. Now, let's just pretend that person reading the resume is the interviewer. We all know that there are different people who will read your resume. It doesn't necessarily have to be the interviewer, but let's pretend they're the interviewer. So when I look at these resumes, someone's like, why are they writing this? It's all this stuff that's unrelated to what I'm looking for. It's almost like it's verbal diarrhea. It's like, you vomit everything out on paper. And if you take a step back and think of it, why do we do this? Why do we put so much and we try and pack it all onto our resume? Because we're afraid. We don't know, or we don't feel confident that we know what the interviewer is looking for. And we think that, hey, you know what, since I'm scared, maybe if I just put more onto that resume, that something will be what they're looking for, and therefore I'll get the interview opportunity. But here's the thing. When you put a whole bunch of stuff that I don't care about as the person reading your resume, your message gets lost. And it's hard for me to find what I'm looking for. And if you think of it, let's say, so I used to read 3,000 resumes in one sitting. Am I going to take a lot of time to find what I'm looking for on your resume? I don't think so, right? So if you are one of those people that puts everything on your resume, it's time to stop panicking and figure out what it is that you can do to catch the person's eye in the right way and to tell them what they want to hear. So now it's very natural for us to think of what we want and what our goal is. How many of you have ever thought what the interviewer wants? What's their goal? They also have different goals. For the resume stage and the interview stage, the goal is different. So this is a little bit trickier unless you've done a lot of interviewing. For the resume, as I said just now, I used to sit down with 3,000 resumes that I would have to scan. So oftentimes 3,000 meant, depending on the number of hires we're looking for, maybe I cut that down to 500, maybe 400, maybe 300. So you can imagine I am not reading every single bullet point on your resume. Now, it doesn't mean that, hey, that's only you, Natalie, you read 3,000, but for the jobs that I'm applying for, they don't get that many applications, I don't think. Well, yeah, but 100. Maybe it's 100 for one job, 100 for two jobs. That's still a lot. Everything's relative. So for me as the interviewer, what I'm doing is when I'm looking through these, I'm scanning. I'm not reading. I literally take the resume And I just, without my finger, with my eye, I go like this, and I'm scanning, which means that you need to make your resume scan friendly. Okay. So if we go back to this, with the resume, as the interviewer, if I've got a stack of 50 resumes, 100 resumes, 3,000 resumes, my strategy is I want to scan down, scan out all the resumes that are not suitable. So I am screening resumes out. That's my goal. Right? My fear is if I go through all those resumes and then, wait a minute, I'm looking for 10 finalist resumes to call in for an interview, and I have 20. Guess what? I have to go back again, review all 20 of them, and then take out another 10. That's more work for me. I don't want extra work. So as I'm going through those resumes, I keep thinking, I'm trying to hit my target. Right? So I'm trying to screen out, which means any excuse that you give me that tells me, oh, you're not the right person, I'm happy. Oh, see, spelling mistake, yay, right? This one's not right, this was not right. Because when I start, I've got so many. Now, of course, if you're applying for a job that no one is applying for, no one's interested in, that's a different story. If it's a job where not many people are applying for, you can bet your bottom dollar that, you know, as the person looking at the resumes, I'm scared another way. Oh, we don't even have enough resumes. Let me look through this really carefully and read it in detail and see if any of these are suitable, any of them. So that's a different story. Let's assume for now that these are jobs where people are getting a lot of applications. Now, here's the thing. As the interviewer, at the interview, what I'm trying to do is screen in. So there's the opposite thing. When I'm going to the interview, maybe I have 10 candidates left. Maybe I have 5 candidates left. I only have 10 or 5 candidates left. So I feel like I have to choose from this pool. Of course, sometimes your hiring effort fails. I can't pick anyone from that pool. Or maybe I did. Maybe I gave an offer to Ho Yi Man, but then Ho Yi Man rejected us. And then let's just pretend this is not real. Let's just pretend Sharon was next in line. We thought Sharon was great too, but Ho Yi Man was our first choice. Hey, Sharon, here's the offer. Sharon has no idea we offered to somebody else already. Guess what? We were too late. Sharon already got another job. Then what would happen? We have to go and advertise again, or maybe I would have to go through that huge stack of resumes all over again. Right? A lot more work. So there is a difference. And if you think about it, if I'm screening in, right, my mindset, what am I thinking and what am I feeling? Right? And so if we can figure out this for the interviewers, right, when they read our resume, what do they think and how do they feel about our resume? For those of you who went through the personal branding, it's kind of similar concepts. If we can manage this in how we write our resume, we're far ahead of the game. Those of you who are active on social media, I'd love to connect with you. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. This is also my official WeChat account in case anyone uses WeChat.